Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to another guide brought to you by DashFight, the best place to go for all guides fighting game related. This guide will focus on Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat 1. Before we start, let me introduce myself to you guys. I am MK Tom Brady. I've been a part of the Mortal Kombat world since it was first released over 30 years ago on October 8th, 1992. In that time, I have won and placed top in many tournaments across many Mortal Kombat games in the franchise. I'm also probably one of the most associated players with the character with myself and Sub-Zero, especially one of his most famous and signature moves, the Ice Clone. Before we get started though, please do not forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. This is going to let you stay up to date with DashFight for all fighting game guides going forward and all things FGC. With that being said, let's go ahead and begin. Alright, so I want to start off with a brief overview of what Sub-Zero plays like in this game, so you guys can decide if this is the character for you. So Sub-Zero is no longer the character that's going to get you cornered, put the Ice Clone up, come in behind it, and throw you into it for a full combo, or mix you up with something, or pressure you with something that might hit you back into the Ice Clone. Then, as soon as the combo's over, Ice Clone again, and loop the situation over and over and over again. Those days are gone. He no longer plays that way for a couple of reasons. For one, if you look at the frame data on the bottom left part of the screen, you will see the Ice Clone is only active for 70 frames. 60 frames is equal to 1 second. So this move is only on screen now for probably the shortest it has ever been in MK history, 1.1 seconds. Then the recovery says 43, which means it's active for 70 frames. It takes me over 50% of that time to recover. There's just no way I can recover from all the way out here and then get right next to him before it begins to crumble. There's no way to do anything with it. And there's a cooldown where once the clone does disappear, you can't do another one again for almost 4 seconds with a 3.5 second actually. That's the actual cooldown. So there's just no way to loop something over and over and over again. They have specifically designed them to make sure that is not possible. Instead, they've given him a lot of zoning moves that he's never had. He's got moves that track the opponent anywhere on the screen. He's got great projectiles that he's never had in the past. And he's got a dive kick to get around your projectiles, your moves, to make you think twice as you approach him, etc. So Sub-Zero has got a lot of ways to kind of get the life lead, force opponents to come in, deal with the Ice Clone. He's been designed more that way. Now that's not to say that you can't play him a little more aggressive. How defensive or how aggressive you can play him largely depends on the cameo that you select with him. And of course we're going to cover that in our cameo section. But Sub-Zero is no longer that character that's going to lock you down for eternity in the corner. They've given him different tools to play a little different in this game that he has in the previous MK games. Okay, so now we're going to cover Sub-Zero's best moves and how to use them. So your two main go-to pokes are going to be your down 1 and your down 3. Down 1 is one of the best pokes in the game and probably the best down 1 because of the range that you can do it at. So even though this move is -9 when it's blocked, from this range here there's no way the opponent can get like a down 1 or a throw attempt or anything like that out there without opening themselves up to a counter attack. Even if they want to stick out like a down 3 or something like that to cover the distance, you can back up, that attack is going to miss. They also leave themselves open. I love down 3 because despite the range of down 1, down 3 has a little bit more range. So there are just characters that have some very, very long ranged highs. And if I try to come in and down 1, I'm just not going to get in range before the high can contact me. When I need just a little bit more range when I'm trying to come in and poke, this is when I use the down 3. So when down 1 and down 3 hit, you are left at very high advantage. Plus 11 for down 1, plus 12 for down 3. Now the real question is, what are you going to do to follow this up with? This is where you have two main jab strings, one faster, one slower. First one is standing 1-2. You're going to use this when your pokes make contact at closer ranges. What does this do? This means that when you follow up with 1-2, if your opponent just is one of those people who they refuse to respect your options and they're going to mash some buttons, mash out down one, try to duck, try to jump, anything at all, including armor, they will not be able to get any of these moves out and they will be hit and comboed, as you will go ahead and combo with your enhanced deadly vapors and full combo from there. This will force them to respect your option to attack to follow your advantage. Doesn't matter how stubborn they are, they will get hit every single time until they finally decide to guard, and that's when you can do things like throw, or maybe go into something a little slower like his overhead or low situation, now that you have forced them to respect your option. The second jab string is 2-1. So I use this because it has a little bit more range than standing one. So when we use that range that we talked about on our down 1 and down 3, this is when we follow up with 2-1. Now it is a very tight window to jail the opponent, only a 1 frame window of down 1, a 2 frame window of down 3, so you want to practice this. Again, if they try to mash anything out, any buttons, don't want to respect your option, 2-1 hits, you confirm it into enhanced deadly vapors, an easy full combo punish. Now if you are someone who's new and you don't quite have the timing to jail with the standing 2 down, you can use your forward 1 mid and use the string off of it forward 1-2. So because forward 1 is a mid, and it's an advancing mid at that, it's not the fastest, but as an advancing mid, you're able to follow up this type of extreme advantage. And if they're trying to duck or down 1 or jump or anything at all, they're going to get hit and they're going to get comboed. Now, because of the speed of this move here, they can armor through this. So you want to keep that in mind, and that's when you would just, okay, they're going to armor, you're going to block and punish them. But keep that in mind. Forward 1 is something that you can use just to kind of make them respect your options while you're practicing the timing on the standing 2. So when you're going to approach with moves, your pokes are going to be down 1, down 3. And if you want to approach with, strings that are going to go into a combo, standing 1 is only used up close. You use 2-1 or forward 1. Of course, 2-1 is a high, so if they try to duck under it, this is when you use your forward 1. For anti-airs, you're going to use your down 2, which is one of the best down 2s in the entire game, or you're going to use your standing 1. There are situations from extreme ranges where your standing 1 won't reach, you want to get a combo, you don't want a down 2. Here you would use the range on your stand 2, and what you go into depends on what cameo you use, so on and so forth. You have a lot of options in this game, obviously, based on the cameo chosen. So moving on with some more of his strings here, you do have a thing with his strings that you do want to recognize. So Sub-Zero strings can simultaneously be hit and block confirmed. What that means is when you use like a 1-2, a 2-1, or a forward 1-2, at any point you can confirm these have been hit and move on with a full combo. However, while you're looking for these moves to hit, you can see, oh, they've been blocked, and instead you can cancel into a special, or you can cancel into cameo or something like that. Now, every single cancel you can do, outside of certain cameos in very specific situations, can be interrupted with armor and punish. As well as that, all of your special cancels, and even the strings themselves. And this is just something that Sub-Zero has to deal with for the time being, and there are just things you guys are going to have to keep in mind. So when you look at a string like your 1-2-2, for example, the opponent can armor in between the first and second, and the first, second, and third. This is pretty much the case for every string you have. They can armor out of the 1-2-2, out of the 2-1-2, things of that nature. And this is important because, for some people, even though you don't want to cancel into a special because they might armor, you can block, confirm, and finish the string as well. But even though those strings are safe, they can armor out of them and still punish you. Now your forward 1-2 does not have a gap to be armored out of the first and second hit, but it does on the last hit, and the last hit is also full combo punishable. So what are you to do? Like, what are your options here when people are blowing you up? Well, whenever you're canceling or just doing the string, if you notice where opponents are blowing through you with armor, let's say they blow through the last hit, I would do 2 hits, guard, armor comes out, you're able to block it and punish them. And again, you just have to keep this in mind with Sub-Zero. This is a mind game that we have to play as Sub-Zero mains. You do have an overhead and low mix-up for those that are kind of looking for a more aggressive style. Say, hey, I want to put some mix on the opponent. You do have your back 2 for an overhead, which will launch, and your back 3 or back 3-4 for the full string. Now, Sub-Zero will not be able to combo off the low string at all by himself. You need to team this with a cameo like Frost or Goro or Sonya, someone like that, a specific cameo to which you have the option to combo. This opens up an overhead low scenario where both options go to a full combo. Now, the overhead is a little slower. It's 24 frames. And the speed of the moves is not so much what makes this move reactable at the higher levels of play. It's that the game shows you, it has a specific animation in which the game is showing you, hey, this is the move it is, and it looks like no other move Sub-Zero has. However, you're not going to be playing one of the top 3 to 5 players in the world every set. So at the mid to lower levels of play, this overhead will hit people and it will be a mix-up for the low. The overhead is very, very unsafe though. So much like picking a cameo for the low option to go into a full combo, you'd ideally want one where also the overhead option will be safe. This allows you to play that, more fast-paced, more mixed style, more aggressive style without opening yourself up to any risk. You also have a kind of interesting string here in your standing 3-4. So normally Sub-Zero players would just kind of throw out slide, check people from moving backwards, etc. But there's a lot of risk in that. You have your 3-4 string, which is safe on block. It can catch people trying to move from ranges, and with the right cameo, it will also lead into a full combo. I want to talk about your special moves here because Sub-Zero's got quite a few specials in this game, and it really helps him with the zoning matchups that he used to struggle with. So as I said, clone is not really something that you go ahead and put people in corners with anymore and lock them down. Briefly to touch on the clone, it's going to have its own section. It can be done grounded, it can be done airborne. You can enhance it, which costs 2 bars, puts 3 on the screen, and you can do this airborne as well. You have a move called Clone Punch, which is back forward 2. So Clone Punch, it hits mid, which first of all is extremely rare for a projectile to hit mid in Mortal Kombat that doesn't require any special meter. You want to use this move at half screen to 3/4 screen. This is the move's peak range. You don't want to use it up close. It's not safe. It's easy to jump. So a lot of times you'll, if you have a clone out there trying to chase you, you would kind of use it behind the clone. They obviously can't jump it. There's a clone there. It's mid, so they can't duck it. Makes it very difficult and very frustrating to deal with. What also makes it frustrating to deal with is it has a level of projectile immunity. So what that means is, take for example an ice ball. So you see how they both kind of go through each other there? Notice here, Clone Punch, it doesn't go through the Clone Punch. There's no trade scenario there. Mortal Kombat projectiles normally pass through each other. Both characters get hit. Clone Punch just cancels out the projectile. It's a great way for Sub-Zero to win these zoning wars without trading, getting hit by faster projectiles, so on and so forth. This really feeds into his style of gameplay, of getting the life lead, making opponents come to him and punishing them when they do so. The enhanced version of this move has even more projectile immunity. So instead of canceling, it just goes right through the projectile and punishes them. So the enhanced version of the Clone Punch, instead of canceling, absorbs the projectile, keeps moving. Your ice ball in this game, down forward 1, is a little different because it doesn't combo off of an attack. So if you do like 1-2 or something, or forward 1-2, and try to combo into your ice ball, it will never do so unless another cameo is involved to allow the ice ball to actually combo. So What you use it for is mainly in trading situations where you're able to get a quick slide, or based on how close you are, able to come in and get a full combo. The enhanced version has that projectile immunity like the dash punch, the clone punch, in which it will absorb their projectile and keep going, freeze them, so you don't eat a trade and you get a full combo in the process. Your slide is back forward 3, same command as MK11, but it's a little different in this game. So normally Sub-Zero players would like to slide from crouch. This is because slide has crouching in it, and you can just do it from crouch and just stay crouched the whole time, go under the projectile. This is not the case in this game. No matter how fast you snap out the slide from crouch, the game will always make Sub-Zero first return to standing and then go to crouch. So if you're doing it from the crouching state, the command would be roll your finger down back to down forward. It's just too many inputs. It takes longer to snap the slide out. So while the slide is the same speed, it takes longer to get it out because you have more inputs. If you do it from standing, it's just a back forward input, and you don't have to worry about going back to standing before going to crouch. You just go right into crouch. It makes it much easier to go under projectiles. Your enhanced slide still reverses positions. It gives you one hit of armor on it. With the right cameo, again, like a Goro or a Sonya, this turns into an armored launcher, as you can call it, cameo. It will hit them, keep them launched high enough for you to recover and get a full combo. So a very, very powerful tool by itself, but definitely very powerful when teamed with the right cameo. Now you have this move here, Deadly Vapors. This is a very interesting move because it's got different properties. When it in hit stun, it will just, the enhanced version will freeze them for a long period of time, non-enhanced, not as long. However, outside of hit stun, it doesn't freeze them or pause them at all. It instead slows them down. A great example of this is, again, let's go ahead and look at the ice ball here. See how it slows down everything about how he does it? The same thing with like something quick, like Sub-Zero slide, right? So, see how it slows down where he is? Now, normally, he's already in a crouching state that's going to go under anything I do. It's gonna hit me. It's just coming out too fast. This Deadly Vapors, down forward 4 is the command. Auto tracks them wherever they are, slows them down no matter what they're doing. Doesn't have to be a special move. They could be dashing, they could be jumping. Slows down everything they do. And again, in these zoning wars with these fast projectiles, that allows Sub-Zero to slow them down where he gets damage on them, but he can recover and he can crouch or block the projectile, doesn't lose the projectile war. And this is fast. You can just pretty much spam it really, really quickly. Makes it very tough for opponents trying to do stuff and trying to get in. And last but not least, we have the dive kick. Sub-Zero's dive kick is something he's never had before in Mortal Kombat. When it is blocked, it can be really safe or really unsafe based on how high in the air, or basically where the opponent has blocked. Not so much how high you are, but how high it is blocked on the opponent. So really high, it's really unsafe. And if it's blocked lower on their body, it's really safe. When this hits, it's an easy confirm into a full combo. Pretty much doesn't really matter where it hits. It's an easy confirm. And this is great for when opponents are trying to press their advantage a little too much, trying to give chase too much, or also trying to zone. It gives Sub-Zero another option, to punish you when he's playing that keep away game and that zoning game and counter zoning game, and you're trying to do anything to get in or get that life lead back. All right, so now we're going to talk about using the ice clone, which is the core of Sub-Zero here. So as I mentioned in the previous section, you can do clone in the air, you can do it on the ground, you can enhance it grounded or airborne. There's a couple of things about ice clone here. For one, when you clone cancel out of moves, strings, or basic single attacks, all of them are unsafe, all of them can be armored through. There is no safe option there. Even if you use 2 bars to enhance the ice clone, there are still moves or cameos that can punish you. You have no 100% safe option. The way you want to use the clone is pretty much the ultimate. It keeps the pace of the match, it dictates the pace of the match, and it controls the space of the match. So pretty much every character in the game, when they want to advance and do something, the opponent always has the option to stick and move out, and you have to respect those options. But Ice Clone, you can come in and clone, and opponent sticks out a limb, or they try to jump at the wrong time and they're frozen. So what happens is, a lot of times you'll notice is that when Sub-Zero, when you're walking people down, instead of trying to meet you with pokes, a lot of times they're just going to back up because they don't want to be frozen by Ice Clone. Clone makes it very difficult to let the opponent realize when you're transitioning from offense to defense. You may be coming in to show offense, but you're actually playing defense at the same time. So the opponent never really has an idea when you're transitioning from offense to defense and vice versa. Because of this, like I said, the opponent ends up backing themselves up a lot more than they would against another character, allowing you to really control how far back they're going to go, and if they show some advancement, you can clone. And because people are usually not going to try to move forward until clone comes out. So you can really use this to your advantage to walk them as far back as possible until they say, okay, I've got to start advancing. Clone cuts the screen off, and you can kind of continue to walk them backwards. So basically, you're able to bully opponents into the corner. This is one of the most powerful things to do in the game, the ability to control space with a combo starter, splitting yourself in two. And no other character has this type of ability, and this is what makes Sub-Zero such a constant defensive threat, and what also allows him to control the pace of the game. Now, when you're looking at canceling off of strings and pokes, etc., the reason why this can be so good is a lot of times you have like pokes like this, where we talked about in the overview where opponents are going to stick a move out or whatever. But because of Ice Clone, you can cancel into this, and when opponents also, like at closer ranges, how I said, oh, they're unsafe, you know. Well, if opponents try to, you know, stick out a down one, a down three, or throw, a lot of these times they're going to be just frozen, which allows you to use this to your ability to say, okay, well, they're waiting for me to cancel into Ice Clone, so now I'm going to go ahead and now poke and follow up almost like it's advantage with a throw or another string or more pressure. Of course, it is the clone, so like I said, it is able to be armored through. And because of the recovery on the Ice Clone, people actually can wait until they see it before they stick an armor move out. You can use this to your advantage. They're waiting to see the clone so they can put their armor, so they think, okay, I know he's going to come in, I know he's going to poke, I know he's going to do a string, and then I know the clone is going to come out, right? So what happens is, because they're waiting for this, you can just do something, throw, or continue with more offense, you know, whatever you want to do. And then they say, okay, he's not going to clone, I'm going to go ahead and take my turn back. Then clone comes out. So you can mix in when you're reading an armor, an attack, and then you're either going to block, or you're reading, they're waiting to see the clone to armor, and then you're going to take certain liberties like quick poke, throw, or pokes into, you know, all types of forms of offense, so on and so forth. This really gives Sub-Zero offense even at negative frames, where everybody knows you're at negative frames, but just because the fear of when is the clone going to come out just commands so much respect that allows you to take a lot of liberties that pretty much no other character in the game can. Alright, so now we're going to get into Sub-Zero's combos. For this part, I'm just going to go ahead and mute my mic, and we'll have the commands for these combos displayed across the bottom of the screen. Okay, so just a few things to keep in mind when it comes to doing Sub-Zero's combos. Everything pretty much has the same route after being frozen. It all goes into back two. And there are a few things you can do, like what would appear to be a double freeze, but it's not, because the game doesn't consider everything he does a freeze. So for example, if you trade with like a full screen attack with your ice ball and you can't get over to the opponent in time for back two, you can still get over in time for a forward 1-2 into then enhanced deadly vapors, and it doesn't count as two freezes and make them drop out of combos, because the freeze counts as the freeze, the deadly vapors does not, and just kind of gives you more combo options. Also, when it comes to anti-air, that largely will depend on the type of cameo that you select. So like for example here, if you went ahead and just jabbed him out of the air, you could then go ahead with a cameo, whatever it may be, to increase the damage of your combos. You always have more damaging options based on what cameo you choose, so keep that in mind as you select the right cameo for you. Also, there are more damaging combos that Sub-Zero has. You can spend 2 and 3 bars to do, you know, multiple versions of his enhanced dive kick mid combo. But these require bars of super meter, and these don't really do any more than maybe 4 to like 6% extra damage, which if that's going to kill, fine. But in general, if you look at how important super meter is in this game, if one combo is going to do 33 for 1 bar, then 2 bars of that same combo will do 66, whereas spending that second bar for an additional 3 to 6% damage in a combo that's not going to kill probably isn't worth it in the long run. Alright, so now let's talk cameos. I want to start out with the 2 best cameos, starting with Goro here and then moving on to Kung Lao. So Goro does offer some similarities to another cameo, Sonya. Their 2 similarities are the ability to combo off of back 3-4, the ability to combo off your standing 3-4, the ability to combo off of your enhanced slide, and the ability to gain a meterless combo starter. And that is where those similarities completely end. However, Goro continues to be able to give you other things, such as your enhanced slide. If you do it from a really far range and call Goro at the proper time, your enhanced slide will now be completely safe. So in this instance here, it's unsafe normally, but because you called Goro at the right time, now all of a sudden it becomes safe, and this allows you to hunt for full screen armor or armor on reaction to a projectile with the ability to armored launch. Or if you just really want to force your way in or check the opponent to see if they're moving around or not blocking, you're able to do so safely while still hunting an armored launcher combo starter. The next thing Goro does, it gives you the ability to make your back 2 overhead launcher completely safe. Normally, this is -23. Every character in the game is going to kill you for it. But when you call Goro behind it, it now becomes completely safe. This at -5 cannot be punished by anyone. The proper time to call Goro would be right when the skull is at your back ankle there. That's when you want to call Goro out. This way, Goro can't be interrupted. If someone tries to punish your back 2, Goro will hit them, giving you advantage to follow up with. If you call Goro too late, so something like this here, and it looks like you have advantage, that's too late of a call. Not only will they be able to punish you, but they will hit Goro in the process, causing the cameo to leave the screen before he makes contact with the opponent. So you really want to make sure that you use Goro at the proper time off of his back 2. The next cameo I want to take a look at is the Kung Lao cameo for a couple of reasons here. So just off to start things off here, as I mentioned, the overhead can be reacted to at the highest possible level. Now, even if you use things like Goro to make the overhead safe, if you want to have a more aggressive play style where you're going to come in and mix people and get combos off your overheads and lows, that it still can be reacted to at the very highest of levels. This is where Kung Lao's cameo really comes in to free up the overhead. You can use Kung Lao's back plus R1 low hat, and you can hold it on screen. And basically, the opponent has no idea which is going to hit first, the overhead or the low. This way, it's not a matter of reacting to the overhead, it's a matter of which one is actually going to hit first, and it's completely ambiguous to the human eye. Only you, the one who set it up and have practiced timing it, know which is going to hit first, the lower the overhead or the overhead and then the low. If you notice also, Kung Lao's hat cameo comes back considerably faster than every other cameo in the entire game, allowing you to abuse it over and over again, whereas other cameos, you have instances where you may use them a couple of times and you have a very long cooldown before you can use it again. One of the best things about the low hat is that it is advantage on hit, both point blank and from range, but it also is advantage on block. So if you look at it here, it's +2 advantage at close range, and it is +22 advantage from far range. So at mid range, what you can do with it, you can set up clone, use low hat. If they try to jump the low hat, they get hit into a clone, and then when they block the low hat, you have enough advantage to follow up with clone punch, and they can't jump over it because the advantage from the hat. It allows you to open up certain traps at certain ranges. From max range also, you can throw out low hat and then follow up with ice ball, and if they block low hat or if they get hit by it, you have way too much advantage for them to throw anything else out before you're able to win that trade, which then allows you to do kind of stuff like low hat, and then they think, okay, well, I'm waiting for ice ball, and you can throw out a couple of these, and then of course you can go back to low hat and then ice ball. I really kind of mix in when you're going to do stuff, and it makes it very difficult for the opponent to approach. They don't really know when you're going to do what. You can change the patterns up of what you're going to do. At close range here, I like it because, like I said, low hat is +2. Now what it gives me is a couple of scenarios. It gives me a kind of a mix-up scenario with the 1-2-2 string and 2-1-2. The last hits of these strings are overheads. So I can do like 2-1 low hat, or 2-1-2 for the overhead, or 1-2-2, or 1-2 low hat. And there is a window to fuzzy guard this, which basically refers to your ability to do a set block pattern, which can guard both the overhead and low in succession. But it's kind of a small window, 2 frames off one string, 3 frames off the other one. So the window is not super tight, but not super big either. So it is something that is viable. Whenever low hat gets blocked, you are +2 advantage, which allows you to down 1 before they can poke or do anything, and then if the down 1 hits, you throw or follow up with like a 1-2 jailing situation, back in the low hat, back in a strike throw scenario, etc. And because of how quickly low hat comes back, you can do this over and over and over again. It gives you a form of offense and pressure that you don't normally have without it. Now the low hat is something that people may say, hey, I may not want to take the pressure here. So, a forward 1-2, people can pretty much armor through the ice clone cancel on reaction to you doing it. But the low hat, they cannot. This is something they have to just guess when you're going to do it and just raw armor and hope for the best. This is where you can play that mind game, do your forward 1-2 and guard, the armor comes out. Or same thing, of any other string, armor comes out, you block it, and you punish them. Kung Lao is the cameo that I use. It gives me some pressure options, some defensive options, some better zoning options, and some good mid-range options. Also gives you the ability to, again, not just the back 2, put the low hat out, and then do a jump in at the same time, overhead and low hits on the same frame. So it gives me very good options for pressure, defense, mid-range game, etc. Alright, so Cyrex is another good cameo to use for Sub-Zero. It's got a couple of uses here that work really well, mainly off the forward 1-2 string. So normally, as we talked about, doing forward 1-2 into any type of special cancel is completely unsafe. By calling Cyrex in the middle of the forward 1 and 2, by using the hold R1 version of the chopper, it makes it so the opponent can no longer interrupt the special cancel. So now there's no way he can interrupt the clone cancel, or if you just want to go ahead and bring the chopper out first, Then you can clone cancel a little later. There's still no option to armor there. They're still stuck in block stun. This way you get a safe cancel and a clone without the opponent able to punish it. You also, when doing this, don't lose the ability to hit confirm the string should it hit and go into a full combo. So the Cyrex hold R1 forward chopper still gives you the ability to combo into an ice ball where normally you can't do so. This way you get the safe hit and block confirm and don't have to worry about the opponent trying to armor out of your special cancel when the string is blocked. Another good thing about Cyrex is for 2 bars, he has a forward throw that you can a special cancel into a launcher. So that's his normal forward throw. And if you hold or tap the R2 button at the right time, you'll be able to basically amplify it into a full launcher. And costs 2 bars, but it is still a launcher off a throw. The Cyrex Kameo also gives you the ability to make sure you get full combos in far screen ice ball trades. So there are just some situations where you get a full screen ice ball trade. It's a bad trade. Maybe the projectile that hits you knocks you down, or maybe it gives the opponent a lot of advantage. You just don't recover in time to dash forward and get a combo. So Cyrex allows you to recover from the trade, take a quick dash forward, put the Cyrex net out, and then continue the combo with whatever you're going to do. And this is just really ensures that on any trade scenario, regardless of what you traded with or knockdown or how disadvantaged you are from the projectile that hit you, you're always going to get that full screen combo starter. I want to touch on Kano now as well. Kano is an assist that we saw used quite frequently in the beta, largely for a couple of reasons here. So Kano can be used if you call him in advance with the Kano knife toss. He can be used to combo off your low option here. So you can use him to full combo off the low option. You can also use Kano to make the overhead safe, and basically this is done by you knock them down, call out Kano ball, you release Kano at the right time, making it so there's no possible way they can punish you. Kano also has like his own uses where kind of like Kano specialties where you can from range call the knife and slide right away. The opponent has to block the slide. If you time this properly, they're still in block stun. Both knives come out. You have to block them. Sub-Zero has advantage at this point. Then he can follow through with strike throw, more pressure, etc. But in general, Sub-Zero and Kano is just something where I don't really see a good use for something like this, just because, again, the overhead is not going to hit much anyway. Kano doesn't give you big damage off of that low. So if you really wanted to play a more fast-paced, more mix-heavy style, Kano probably wouldn't be the option for you. You'd probably want to go more so with Goro. Also, Kano used to be able to give you combos you couldn't normally do, such as like something like this into Ice Ball. But this is just not something that's really viable anymore. Just because the damage scaling is just so bad that this is really not something that's gonna benefit you combo wise to be able to do something like this. His damage scaling has just been adjusted so much from what you used to be able to do in the beta of the game till now that a lot of these Kano options that seemed really, really good at one time really are not as useful in the live version of the game. The Sub-Zero and Frost cameos are similar but slightly different. So where they're similar is Sub-Zero, for example, allows you to combo off your low here. Now the thing about this is just going to be a raw, low, just back 3 into freeze. There's no possible way that there's any type of hit confirm here. So in the example of like a Goro or a Sonya, where you can do back 3 forward and get a full hit confirm, you're just going to do back 3 and you're going to call out the freeze and it's just a blind guess, and this is full combo punishable. But while it is giving you the ability to full combo off the low, you don't get to hit confirm. You're just going to have to guess and hope they don't block it and punish you. Sub-Zero also gives you ice armor here. Now this is something that's really, really good because you can do it while blocking, so there's no possible way you can get hit. So as long as you don't get hit by an attack, you are immune for X amount of time to all projectiles. You can just walk through them as if they don't exist, and actually in some cases even punish the opponent if they're throwing them at a close enough range for you to get your attacks out. Sub-Zero also gives you a cold shoulder, which is again pretty good move. Got good range. It's mid. It's safe on block, so it's something that you can do in string scenarios as well. Now the Frost cameo, like I said, similar to Sub-Zero, where you have the low option. Again, this is just a blind guess to make the low option able to be comboed. Frost also has her Frost Assault move here. This is high, so they can just duck it and punish you, so keep that in mind. It is a little gimmicky. And Frost also gives you the ability to... this move right here is actually plus frames here, but it does push back, only really good in the corner, +4 advantage. And she also, one of her most powerful options is the Frost Ball. The Frost Ball, you can throw them into the Frost Ball here, and it leaves them open to be for a full combo, things of that nature. Or you can do like a slide, and if they're cornered and it hits, they'll be frozen. If they block the slide and try to punish it, they'll be frozen. A lot of times it's the same thing off pretty much any scenario. They try to duck because they think a throw is coming, and they get hit by a mid. It's best used in the corners, obviously, so they cannot back away. So if you can kind of get a situation in the corner where you can get it out there, makes it tough for them to move. They can't get thrown, can't get hit by anything. That's pretty much the way I would use the Frost and Sub-Zero cameos. Both of them are good, but really only have kind of some niche uses. I don't really know how usable Frost even is. I think Sub-Zero is probably the better of the two options here, just because of the projectile ice armor. And finally, we're going to wrap things up with the Serena cameo. Probably one of the better cameos for Sub-Zeros for a couple of reasons. The Serena assist in general, just in open space, catches people all the time off guard, giving you a full combo from even mid-screen. Another reason, again, great for full screen trade scenarios where your ice ball hits and you just had a bad trade. Their projectile you trade with knocks you down or leaves you at a really big disadvantage. You're able to take a step forward, call Serena, and then full combo. Serena also is going to give you full combos without spending any meter, so she's going to give you meterless combo starters. A little better damage than you can with pretty much any other cameo, so Serena does really help with damage as well. But Serena is just kind of like that anywhere on the screen. Check, make sure you're not moving, not being too careless, always respecting Sub-Zero's options. Serena also has the this portal right here, which will actually drain 1 bar of super meter. So one thing you can do is situation in corners where you're going to go ahead and call Serena for this, and then you're going to clone, and now they're stuck there. Their super bars getting drained. They have to try to advance forward past clones and clone punches and things of that nature. And she also has a quick reversal kind of move here. This is very fast, and there are just some situations that you can't even armor through, where you can call this Serena assist right here, and she will actually interrupt what they were going to do in scenarios in which you can't even armor. So she definitely has some pretty cool uses that really work in ways that a lot of other cameos don't. Again, it all depends how you really want to play Sub-Zero. the style you want to play, the way you want to use them. It's pretty much up to you what you think is going to fit your particular style best. All right, now my conclusion with Sub-Zero is that he has got a very freestyle way to play between how many different cameos you can use and how you're going to play him offensively, defensively, kind of in the middle. He's one of those characters that gives some of the most freedom. However, his downside is he just doesn't have any real way to keep himself safe on anything, regardless of pretty much any cameo or any special or any string. So everything is constantly a mind game, constantly a bait, because he doesn't ever have that, this is what I'm going to do, you don't have the option to punish me here, I know this is safe, etc. Doesn't really have any of those options, which is what makes it a little challenging to play him. However, he still can be played at the highest possible level, and he will reward you for the time that you have invested into him, which just makes it so much more of an enjoyable experience. That does it for this Sub-Zero guide. Please again, do not forget to follow DashFight to stay up to date on all guides for Mortal Kombat 1 and other fighting games in the future. DashFight is by far the best place to go for any information that you want FGC related. Thanks for watching, everyone.